Unless you have been living in a cave, you must have come across some of these images, at least once in your lifetime, maybe on your television screen. So what does Superman have in common with Alfred Hitchcock's The 39 Steps, or Michael Powell's The Red Shoes have in common with the cult TV show The Persuaders? And I could go on and on and on. All these dozens of much-loved classics have been filmed on the same premises. I'm Lawrence. Let me take you on a tour of the legendary PINEWOOD Studios.
The start of another day of make-believe at Britain's Pinewood Studio. The quiet, almost rural atmosphere of Pinewood is deceptive. Once the palatial home of cricketing star Ranjit Singh, it was transformed into a film studio complex in 1935. And soon, Pinewood came into the sphere of the man who was to revitalise the British film industry, J. Arthur Rank.
J. Arthur Rank, a successful industrialist with little movie background, Rank is one of the richest men in England, possessor of a huge industrial fortune.
In 1935, this successful industrialist went into a partnership with Charles Booth, the man who had just bought a Victorian mansion in a peaceful country estate called Buckinghamshire, just 25 miles west of London. He named the place Pinewood after the many trees present. That's how the studio that was to become Britain's answer to Hollywood grew around the original house and its gardens. Could you believe that behind these splendid walls lie 34 separate film stages?
Pinewood's got lovely gardens, and it really was, and the locations here are really excellent.
To the death, baby.
Now, will you stand there with an apple on your head?
No.
I was so lucky to have worked on The Saint and The Persuaders,
There's no need to kneel, I'm very democratic, Lord.
But it wasn't until we got Persuaders, then we started off the first couple of months by actually going to Monte Carlo, and we were based in Nice, and we had Monte Carlo and Cannes, and shot all around there, and that was good. Also, we had some. I drove the lovely Aston Martin to Rome to Paris for some scenes in Paris, and we shot in Rome with Roger. But you haven't got the time on a TV series to spend too much time travelling. You know, it's expensive. It's expensive hobby.
Lord Sinclair, how good to see you again.
Oh, really nice to be back.
And what was it like shooting at Pinewood Studios compared to because obviously there's quite a bit of location work for this episode. Did you enjoy that?
I didn't go to France and I didn't go to Spain. I mean, all those shots were done on location, but I was not there. I filmed everything in London at Pinewood Studios.
Wait! Turn around. Slow. Put up your hands. Put them up. Higher. Go. You all right? What's the matter with you? Where'd you come from?
The same place as this.
Even the house where I was kidnapped and I was freed was a film set.
Because they did have quite an impressive back lot at Pinewood.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s and 40s. It doesn't exist anymore, but
yeah,
that allowed them to double for places that normally you'd have to go at that point.
The hotel was in Beaconsfield on the A40.
Oh, right, yes.
Visitors who come from all over Britain to take this once-in-a-lifetime chance to look behind the scenes. The sets are as varied as the film chippies and plasterers can make them. The fantasy world reaches deep into Pinewood. No set is too difficult to make, no backdrop too impossible.
We shot on the back lot quite a bit. When we arrived at Earl Street, there was a massive street set that had been built for a motion picture. And instead of taking it down, we left it up and we transformed that. I mean, it became Hong Kong on a Monday, or 2 weeks later it was Berlin. You just changed the signs, and so we used this set quite a lot.
In fact, anytime they'd put Zurich or Paris, and they would shoot in Elstree, Bournemouth High Street, and then because the cars are driving on the wrong side of the road, not like the way they would in France, they would flip the film.
Right, yeah.
And you'd occasionally see a London bus going backwards. And all those rubber palm trees, they'd stick in front of my face on the back lot. It'd be about 15 below, and it's raining.
Yeah, there's muddy fields in the background.
And there's this palm tree, and it says Bahamas, in a silk shirt. And then, of course, I did The Persuaders with Tony Curtis.
Yeah, and again, you were the glamorous, stiff upper-lip Englishman, always well turned out, dinner jacket.
Lord Brett Sinclair.
Yes.
Tony was Tony.
Would you believe it?
Taxi, sir?
Isn't it lucky for us that you showed up?
Yeah, and we had early day starts. You know, I was picked up every morning at 6:30 to be at the studio by 7:30 and be ready on the set by 8:30.
Hey, if I stay right about here, you okay? Ready when you are, Mr. DeMille.
Well, shh. Now follow me.
Cut in. You ready? I'm ready. Hello. Are you ready? You ready for Freddie?
The Swans hired for a day's shooting of romance, perhaps? No, they're part of Pinewood's unique rural background. But on a film set, fantasy soon becomes reality, and vice versa.
Is it true that Tony taught you lots of stunts and all that? Because he was quite experienced by the time.
Oh, he's a wonderful athlete. And he taught me how to jump one-handed over things. It was, if you saw, what was it, trapeze?
For trapeze,
Yeah, terrific. It's very muscular.
Do you ever get together now?
We were at an award ceremony about 3 years ago.
Yes.
I gave you an award, or you gave me an award. She was nice. She was far too young for you, Tony.
The one thing that comes over in your book.
Even if we hadn't made the big success we thought we were in America, Lou was prepared to finance another series of The Persuaders, but by that time, Roger had been grabbed by the scruff of the neck to be the next James Bond.
And his rather bizarre sense of humour. All the James Bond books.
We did it for a year. Then Roger got the call, as we expected, to play James Bond.
Many films in the James Bond series have been filmed on this world-famous 007 soundstage. The largest in the world, it was built in 1976 to film the giant set of The Spy Who Loved Me.
Roger Moore, Agent 007 himself. And Barbara Buck, Bond's latest female complication in The Spy Who Loved Me. With them, the Bond producer, Cubby Broccoli.
My feeling is as the submarine goes in...
Into darkness.
Yeah, into darkness,
Yeah.
and, you know, with the high fin and the
Yeah.
conning tower,
Yeah.
I think that'll give you a very good
Yeah, because I discussed
lead-in.
with Claude yesterday, actually, that I thought the best way of showing the set was to suddenly switch on all the lights.
Yeah.
In a career that spanned 7 decades, Sir Ken Adams has received 2 BAFTAs and 2 Academy Awards for his sleek, futuristic sets. The German-born artist, who had trained to be an architect, paid tribute to German expressionism and modernist design with his legendary sets like Doctor No's nuclear reactor.
Japan Pinewood style, and the first day shooting on the 5th film in the cinema's most spectacular saga. They're spending £3 million on You Only Live Twice, but it'll probably earn 10 times that around the world.
Action.
Incidentally, that's not Fort Knox. It's a film set here, Goldfinger in Buckinghamshire, Pinewood. I'm not James Bond. He's a fictitious character.
It's the late, great Sir Roger Moore. Now, Roger, I was lucky enough to interview him on quite a few occasions, but what I loved about Roger was he never really lost his sense of fun, and he said that becoming James Bond was obviously the biggest thing of his career. But the big thing for him was when he did his first outing as James Bond. And I said to him, when you were going along to the premiere that night, were you nervous? You know, did you think, what if they don't like me? And he said, well, no, not really. I don't really bank the money. Now, what was more interesting, he said, he got excited at the end of the film when it says, made at Pinewood Studios, London, England. He said, that's when I knew I'd arrived. So I was also lucky enough to bump into Stuart Granger. Now, Stuart Granger was the matinee idol, literally up there with Dirk Bogarde before he went over to Hollywood and really made it big out there.
Stuart Granger came with Sandra Storm and impresario Jack Dunphy.
Stuart Granger gets together with Alan Ladd and our own Sid Field, who was probably saying, what a performance in advance. A jovial prelude to another command show marked by Anglo-American goodwill.
In future, Miss Lavinia will ride with Ames. She'll do no more jumping for the present.
Very well. As you wish.
Child was a Fuller. You hated all the Fullers.
Aren't you a Fuller?
Yes?
Did I hate you?
No.
Then you are wrong in saying that I hated all Fullers, are you not?
Yes.
You must be careful to speak the truth, Mrs. Fury.
I am on oath to do that.
He told me a great story about how on his first sort of big movie he was with Hedy Lamarr, and he couldn't quite understand why she was twitching all the time because, you know, literally he was having to do a romantic scene with her. But it turns out that he was in her key light, and this didn't make her look as gorgeous as when he wasn't in it. And so they didn't particularly get on well, although according to him, they did get quite romantic off screen. Well, this is Hollywood after all. This is not Buckinghamshire.
Stars, technicians and extras on the set at Pinewood joined in welcoming Cardinal Griffin, the Archbishop of Westminster, paying a visit to a British film studio for the first time. A meeting with the film's leading lady, Kathleen Ryan, and her opposite number, who's none other than Stuart Granger. And here's the moment when the stars have a change from their usual routine by getting an autograph instead of giving one.
Is it action now? Action now.
The next one will be better.
Later on, the Cardinal shared in that most welcome moment in any studio, the break for tea. Mysteries of the camera are explained to the guest of honor, who seem to enjoy every moment of his visit. A final chat with members of the cast.
Demanding high rents and throwing people off their farms when they can't pay them, no man or woman will work for you. Your food will go uncooked, your horses unshod, your bread unbaked, and your crops ungathered. Apart from that, you can live in perfect peace, Captain. For no man will have anything to do with you till you come to your senses.
You have the temerity to stand there and threaten me with some criminal charade?
Not criminal, Captain. There's no law against withdrawing labor.
How dare you address me in terms like that? In decent conditions, I'd have you horsewhipped.
We've moved on a bit since those days, Captain.
Are you not maybe forgetting that you have a farm? I'd walk warily cocky if I was you.
I know you could evict me, Connell. I expect that.
You'll get a great deal more than you expect, you peasant upstart, and whoever's with you in this. I've close on 300 pounds worth of crops standing today, and I'll save every sheaf of them, in spite of you and 1,000 Parnells. I'll have every landlord in Ireland behind me in this, and I'll break every man jack of you.
To this day, that's how most studios work. Let's take the example of Stuart Granger's Captain Boycott from 1947. The second unit crew went to film on location in Ireland, and most of the scenes were shot on a standing set representing an Irish village.
Well, Frank, this is what I call real Irish weather. I hope you have a bit of luck in Australia.
Jimmy, it's very nice to see you here. We missed you last year.
You were the only one of us who was here last year, and you won it, you clever thing. Where is this Daily Mail Film Award, you know, the Star? What have you done with it?
It's in the place of honor on my mantelpiece.
I think you're going to have another one this year.
Oh, don't say that.
Big names of the film industry, producers, directors, and stars had literally to fight their way through a sea of wildly enthusiastic spectators.
Pinewood and special effects, you know, have a very strong link, going back to the matte paintings in Black Narcissus.
I didn't realise until comparatively recently that they hadn't used any locations.
It is very strange when you see the final shot and then what was originally filmed, and she's, you know, a few feet above the ground, and it feels incredibly vertiginous when the matte painting's there, and it looks seamless in many ways.
It's Alexandria at Pinewood, part of the magnificent set that was to reproduce the glory and romance of ancient Egypt on the screens of the world. It was, in fact, all for Cleopatra. But the fall of Alexandria here is not the end of the story.
This year, Superman brings you the gift of flight. Superman, the movie.
Pinewood is a success story. The Oscars and Academy Awards won are proof that it's good at its job.
All right, admit it. We're lost, right? We are not lost. I happen to have a very highly developed sense of direction.
Black Park. Now just imagine the richness for film crews to be able to work in such an astounding location just a few feet away from the studio.
Pinewood is a success. The Oscars and Academy Awards won are proof that it's good at its job. Not as a dream factory, rather as a citadel of romance, adventure, the tragedy and laughter that all of us need at least some of the time.
Producers, cameramen, plasterers, in fact all the thousands of men and women, the people who make the films, not forgetting the over-glamorized, overworked, over-criticized, and some say overpaid, your friends, the stars.
Production of A Countess from Hong Kong was first announced, representatives of over 250 newspapers, magazines, wire services, TV and radio networks from virtually every country in the world crowded into the first press conference. Hundreds more covered the shooting. And the result? Typical are magazines like Life, Look, Vogue, Newsweek, and Continental publications. A whirlwind of magazine covers, interviews, stories, of which the barest minimum is shown here.